When God remembers you, divine intervention and deliverance. In the tapestry of human existence, moments of divine intervention stand out as beacons of hope and faith. The Bible is replete with stories that remind us of God's unwavering faithfulness and His ability to transform our darkest hours into moments of triumph. These stories are not mere anecdotes from antiquity, they are living testimonies of God's power to remember and elevate His people. Let us delve into the profound instances when God remembered His people, transforming their lives in ways that continue to inspire and convict us today. Joseph, from prison to palace. The story of Joseph, as recounted in the book of Genesis, is a testament to God's faithfulness and His ability to redeem and elevate. Joseph, the favorite son of Jacob, was sold into slavery by his jealous brothers and later found himself unjustly imprisoned in Egypt. For years, he languished in prison, seemingly forgotten. Yet, God had not forgotten him. In Genesis 41 verse 14, we read, "So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. When he had shaved and changed his clothes, he came before Pharaoh." This moment marked the beginning of Joseph's rise from a prisoner to the second most powerful man in Egypt. God remembered Joseph and transformed his plight into a position of influence, enabling him to save many lives during a severe famine. The story of Joseph prompts us to ask, how often do we feel forgotten in our own prisons of hardship and despair? Do we trust that God, in His perfect timing, will remember us and bring about our deliverance? Joseph's story assures us that no matter how dire our circumstances, God's plans for us are for our ultimate good. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. Hannah, from barrenness to blessing. Hannah's story, found in 1 Samuel, is one of profound faith and relentless prayer. Ridiculed by her husband Elkanah's other wife, Peninnah, because of her barrenness, Hannah's heart was deeply grieved. Yet, she never ceased to pray and pour out her soul to God. In 1 Samuel 1 verses 19 to 20, we read, "Early the next morning they arose and worshipped before the Lord and then went back to their home at Ramah. Elkanah made love to his wife Hannah, and the Lord remembered her. So in the course of time Hannah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, saying, 'Because I asked the Lord for him.'" Hannah's persistence in prayer and unwavering faith led to God remembering her and blessing her with a son, Samuel, who would become a great prophet in Israel. This story challenges us to reflect on our own persistence in prayer. Are we, like Hannah, willing to fervently seek God's face, trusting that He will remember us in our distress? Hannah's story inspires us to believe that our prayers are never in vain, and that God, in His mercy, will answer in His perfect time. Paul and Silas, midnight miracles. In the New Testament, the account of Paul and Silas in the book of Acts illustrates God's power to deliver even in the most hopeless situations. Imprisoned unjustly, beaten, and shackled in the innermost cell, Paul and Silas did not succumb to despair. Instead, they prayed and sang hymns to God. Acts 16 verses 25 to 26 recounts, about midnight Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were listening to them. Suddenly there was such a violent earthquake that the foundations of the prison were shaken. At once all the prison doors flew open, and everyone's chains came loose. This miraculous deliverance underscores the power of praise and prayer. In our own midnights, do we have the faith to lift our voices in worship, trusting that God can shake the foundations of our problems and set us free? Paul and Silas's story reminds us that God's presence is with us even in the darkest hours, and that He is able to bring about our deliverance in the most unexpected ways. Peter, divine rescue. The story of Peter's miraculous escape from prison, as recorded in Acts 12, further illustrates God's ability to intervene on behalf of His people. Arrested by King Herod and heavily guarded, Peter's situation seemed hopeless. Yet, the church fervently prayed for his release. Acts 12 verses 6 to 7 narrates, "The night before Herod was to bring him to trial, Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with two chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. Suddenly an angel of the Lord appeared and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him up. 'Quick, get up,' he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. Peter's escape was nothing short of miraculous, a direct response to the prayers of the church. This account challenges us to consider the power of collective prayer. Do we, as a community of believers, stand in the gap for those in need, trusting that God hears and answers our collective cries? Peter's story assures us that no matter how dire the circumstances, God is able to send His angels to rescue us. When God remembers you. The stories of Joseph, Hannah, Paul and Silas, and Peter all converge on a singular truth: when God remembers you, everything changes. God's remembrance is not a mere act of recalling, it is an act of intervention, a divine stepping into our circumstances to bring about His purposes. In our moments of despair, let us remember these biblical accounts and be inspired to trust in God's timing and faithfulness. We are reminded in Isaiah 49 verses 15 to 16, "Can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has borne? Though she may forget, I will not forget you. See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands, your walls are ever before me." As you face your own challenges today, go on your knees and ask God to remember you. Trust that the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords will step into your situation and turn your mourning into dancing. Let your faith be unwavering, for God's remembrance is a promise that He will never leave nor forsake you. Hebrews 13 verse 5. Embrace the assurance that when God remembers you, He will elevate, deliver, and bless you beyond your wildest dreams. Kindly subscribe, like, follow, comment and share.